Hello, guys. This is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, ending eating disorders using nothing but our brains. And welcome to another live feed. So fun to see you guys here today. Feel free to pop in with your own experience, any sort of questions, anything that you're relating to here, because I know this is such a common thing. In fact, the very thing that we're talking about today is something that I hear so commonly. So just the other day, I was on a call with a woman who just said, I'm just so confused. Like, I have no idea how to eat anymore. Like, I know too much. Like, it's just too much in my brain of all of these different ways of eating. And she said she just stands in the kitchen and she's just in tears because she has no idea how to eat for her. She has no idea how to eat for her body. She has no idea to eat for her family. And it's not that she doesn't know how to eat. She knows 20 ways to eat. But figuring out the right way to eat for her is something that can get more and more complicated. So what we're going to do today, you guys, is we're going to talk about how to eat, and we're going to talk about really simplifying that process and why a lot of times the things that we are doing to figure out how to eat actually are making it worse. And so welcome, and so fun to see you guys. And I want you guys to understand with the principles that we teach here, this is about, of course, like the traditional binge eating, bulimia, those sorts of more serious things. And then the other serious things of like overeating, the graze binge all throughout the day, thinking about food all day long, that body hate, that body obsession, just having that all sort of your mental energy. And the sorts of principles that we talk about here are going to help you with all those things because it comes down to really the same thing. And so buckle up. So excited to chat with you guys. Hello. So fun to see you on. Feel free to say hi. And we're going to talk about how on earth you know how to eat. Okay, so this is usually what happens, that every time that we try to fix our eating, we gain more knowledge and it becomes more complicated actually to know how to eat. And so, like I was saying, we'll stand in the kitchen just in tears with no idea of really what is going to serve us, what is going to help us. And we're stacking it on top of so many things. So we have the thing that we think that we should eat. We have the thing that we want to eat. We have the thing that we feel like we shouldn't want to eat. We have the thing that maybe we should be eating instead. We have the thing that maybe, in this certain situation, we should try to eat. And so we're being pulled in all of these different directions. And there are so many contradictory ways of eating. And we live in an information age where you can spend 10 hours just Googling. If you just Google how to eat or, the best diet or whatever, you are going to find probably a lot of things about the trend of the day of, what the diet industry is pushing on you of like, oh, this is the way to eat now. And you're going to get a whole lot of other things because what happens is that we go through these iterations of, thing after thing of this is the way to eat. And then that comes back into, style, 10 years later. And what we have to show for it is a 98% failure rate of any sort of lifestyle change or weight loss that is sustainable or any sort of like way to eat that creates health. And think of all the different ways that we have tried to eat over the years, and none of us has gotten healthier. Like as a nation, as a planet, we're getting less and less and less healthy. So why is that? So one thing about all the different ways of eating is, you're going to find, okay, well, I got to eat for my blood type. Oh, I've got to eat, these certain things in combination with these certain things. And I should never have, a starch together with like this other food group. And, oh, I've got to eat at all the right times of day. And, oh gosh, I've got to eat in the feeding windows that are just perfect for me. And, oh, there are a bunch of things in my food that I shouldn't eat. I shouldn't eat any nitrates and I should eat all organic, but, I shouldn't eat these things that are organic because that's not actually the right thing because I need to save money and I need to do this other thing. So I just need to eat these certain things that are organic, and I shouldn't ever eat after 6 o'clock. And well, I absolutely shouldn't eat in the morning. And then, oh, actually, I should always eat in the morning because it starts my metabolism. Oh, no, I shouldn't eat in the morning because that's just a way to get in more calories. Oh, you know what? I need to have more healthy fat in my diet. Oh, gosh, actually, this healthy fat isn't healthy. Oh, gosh, I read this other article. It's not healthy after all. Oh, I should never eat when I'm stressed, but I also shouldn't eat when I'm mindless and when I'm calm. Well, then when do I eat? Oh, well, I should eat right after a workout because, that's going to burn the calories. Oh, I shouldn't eat right after a workout because, my cortisol levels are high because of all the cardio that I've done. It's going to store it as fat. So for every way of eating, there is another way that absolutely contradicts that. And then once we have all of these different ideas in our head, then what we try to do is just good humans with a lot of information is we try to marry all those things together and say, okay, well, with everything that I know from all these different ways of eating, there must be a way for me. There must be a way, a holy grail, the right way to do it, where we can marry all these things together and I can know how to eat. And that just ends up with us standing hopeless in our kitchen, delaying and delaying and delaying. And then we're just so fed up with trying to figure out what to eat and being so frustrated that we end up just like having something that we feel really awful about because we're just out of mental energy and we're just so sick and tired of having every single meal be such a battle. And then look at all of these phases of ways to eat, right? So for instance, in the 80s, it was what we call the Snackwell generation, right? In the 80s, it was this big fad of like, oh, fat is bad. Don't eat fat. Low fat diet. Guess what doesn't have fat? Sugar. Sugar has no fat. And that's why these, the food industry came out with things like Snackwells, things with like 0 fat and tons of sugar. And then all of a sudden, people started gaining all this weight and getting diabetes. But sometimes, when they would eliminate the fat, then they would lose weight because, they are, taking out all of the extra calories of the fat. But then they're gaining it back way plus some, and now they're diabetic. So after a while, people wised up and they're like, whoa, just eating loads of sugar, even if it doesn't have fat, that's actually not going to get us to a good place. Completely eliminating that. Oh, we see now. Oh, we see now how that wasn't working. And some people are still doing that, but then people wised up, right? Oh, okay, no, it's not about cut out the fat and sugar is fine. It's, sugar is really, really bad. And guess what's awesome? Fat is awesome. You know what? Look at this. It doesn't have any sugar. It just has a ton of fat. You can just take butter and peanut butter and roll it in a ball and eat it. And all you need to do is eat super, super high fat. And that is the trend now. Do you see what's happening here? We look back at the 80s and we're like, that was insane to just eat a ton of sugar and cut out fat. And now we're like, oh, this is sanity. Let's eat all fat and cut out all the sugar. Do you think that the diet industry is right this time? Do you think that the $66 billion industry that has never made anyone healthier, that has continued to make us less healthy by pushing all these different ways of eating is right now with all of these trends of like, keto and high fat and all of that? And you know what? You can go and you can read a whole bunch of articles about how healthy that is. Just like in the 80s, you could have read a whole bunch of articles about how cutting out all of that was so healthy for you. Because of course the industry is going to, with their $66 billion budget, do all of this research that promotes, oh, this is the healthy way to eat. And then they say the exact opposite thing and promote this is the healthy way to eat, make a whole bunch of money, and it's the 98% failure rate is the same. Like it's never gotten any better. If dieting worked, if eating one certain way, one certain diet was something that could just help us all lose weight and then keep it off forever, it would have worked a really long time ago. And so there's just this insanity that we get into of like, oh, this is the way. No, this is the way. And the danger of that is every time that we latch on to something else, every time that we go to a place of like, oh, this is the thing, then we go all in and we eat that way. And then we fail. Of course we fail because we're set up for failure in that. And then we think, oh, there's something wrong with us. And then we go to the next thing. Oh, I was so wrong. No, this is the way to eat. Now that I've read this new book, now that I've, followed this new blog. And it keeps on getting worse and worse. And the thing is that every time that we go from one thing to the next, you guys, so it's not only the damage physically that happens from, losing the weight and then gaining it back plus some, every time that we go to that restrictive place and we try to lose the weight, there's a 30% chance that we're actually pushing up our set point weight. So that's why we gain it back plus some. And then we never get back down again because we're teaching our body how to be permanently heavier and heavier all the time. It's not only what's physically happening with every new diet that we try. It's it's not just physically, but it's mentally what's happening, psychologically what's happening. So every time that you say, oh no, that's not the way to eat, this is the way to eat, you still have all of those things on your bad list of foods. And that's why you stand in the kitchen and you realize, oh, well, I can't eat that. Oh, and I can't eat that. And I definitely shouldn't eat that. And I know what that does to me. And then we don't know how much because, oh, well, I shouldn't eat this much. I shouldn't eat this much. And I wonder what time. So what happens is that our list of foods that we can't eat that are the bad foods, every single time that we go to some new way of eating, all those other foods are still bad, right? So we start increasing our list of bad foods and we have a more and more limited amount of foods that we feel okay about because, oh, well, we've proven all of those wrong. So we've got to find the things that are just right. And I don't know if you guys saw our interview with Ashley, who, graduated our program and had struggled with this for so long, since she was a teenager. And this is something where she got to the point where she was having panic attacks about kale because her eating list of things that she could eat got smaller and smaller and smaller until pretty much the only thing that she felt good about was kale. But then it was like, how much kale should I eat? And then she started having panic attacks over really what to eat. Like, this is something that is a serious problem, to be confused because you are going to eat over and over and over thousands of times for the rest of your life. And then it's going to take more and more time of, knowing what to eat because you're doing more and more research. And then we magnify that, like if you're in charge of, making meals for, your family or feeding your kids, well, how do you know what's good for them, right? How do you feel in integrity with feeding them something if you don't know what's right, what's good? And so we get to this place where we just are so frustrated and we're standing in the kitchen and we're in tears and we don't know what to do. And we use all of our willpower and all of our mental energy and all of those finite resources on trying to figure out what to eat. And then we cave and we eat something that is so glaringly and I'm going to put this in quotes, wrong choice in our minds. So we'll eat something easy and we'll eat something that is just like a giving up of like, okay, better luck next time. I'll try something, the next time that I try to eat, but I just have to eat something. I'm starving and I have no idea what to do. So we'll do something like we'll have a bowl of cereal. And with everything that we know, and everything that we think and all the bad foods on our list, cereal is definitely on there, right? And then we have this incredible guilt and shame afterwards of failing at this meal and how that reflects on the rest of our life. Why haven't I figured this out yet? With everything that I know, what am I doing eating something like a bowl of cereal? And we feel like a physical feeling, like this panic and like it's going to kill us. Our heart is racing. We're knowing exactly all the reasons why it's hurting us. Oh gosh, this is feeding my food addiction and my sugar addiction. This is sucking my energy. This is overly processed food. This is hurting my heart. We feel the weight sticking to us of the awful empty carbs that we've eaten. And we feel so horrible that we either say, I've completely blown it. I have to figure this out. I can't believe I'm doing things like eating cereal, that we go and we eat 5 more bowls of cereal, or we go into this place of extreme resolve, either before or after we binge, where, okay, well, we've got to know more. We've got to research more. We've got to go, and get another book, and we've got to go and, read another website, and we've got to watch 10 more YouTube videos so that we can truly dedicate ourselves tomorrow and plan all of our meals to do it the right way. And we have this idea that one day we're going to reach this holy grail of figuring out the way to eat and everything's going to fall into place and be so easy, but you just got to keep going. But every single time that you go through this cycle, psychologically, you have more bad foods on your list, which creates more anxiety. And physically, we're pushing up our set point weight. We're slowing our metabolism. We're teaching our body how to be less and less healthy. And we're really losing hope. Like, you cannot do something an infinite amount of times and fail. We have had so many people say to us, I cannot take one more failure. They've been failing for 40 years. They've been trying this over and over, and it doesn't get easier. It gets harder because every time you have to really take the last shreds of hope that you have to try to, okay, but this is the thing. And eating becomes so incredibly complicated that every waking moment we're thinking, either right there in front of us or just in the background. The people that we talk to, it's common for them to say that 80% of their day, and I know I've been there, I know exactly how this feels, of having this constant internal dialogue of, okay, what am I going to eat, and what should I eat, and what shouldn't I eat, and what time should I eat it, and what am I going to eat next, and what am I going to eat tomorrow, and what am I going to eat for the next month, and how much am I, and what if I don't eat the thing that I said I was going to eat, and then, oh gosh, I ate something that I shouldn't have, how am I going to balance that out? We're always trying to make the right choice, and we're trying to make it in advance and hold it all in our mental energy. And you guys, we coach women all the time in their 60s, their 70s, who have been through generations of different ways to eat. And they've gotten on the bandwagon every single time, and it's not for lack of trying. It comes from a good place. It comes from wanting to do the right thing. Most of us really have this inherent desire to do the right thing, but it just comes down to Please tell me what the right thing is to do. It's become so complicated because if you ask any person what is the right way to eat, you're going to get as many different answers as there are people. And probably everyone's going to tell you 4 different ways because they've been through all of this as well. And this is something that your whole life gets dedicated to, when eating should be a really simple, effortless thing. And I want you guys to understand, like, before I was on this side of it and, just felt that absolute peace and freedom around food, like, it was hard to even imagine that. I was thinking about food so often in the day. It was completely consuming me. I was feeling anxiety and guilt over every single thing that I, ate or put in my mouth or even, like, thought about eating. And it was absolutely torturous. And I would really have to think to tell you what I ate yesterday. I don't know. Eating is so natural, so effortless. People have been eating for thousands of years. Your body is in charge of beating your heart, breathing your lungs, regulating your metabolism. And the other thing that people have been doing super effortlessly for thousands of years is eating. And when we take it into our own hands and we try to control it all, it does the absolute opposite of helping. It makes it even harder. Sometimes I think about, oh gosh, I'm going to have to remember this now on a live feed. Okay, put in the chats if I have this wrong. But there's some movie about alien contact. I think it's called Contact, with that woman that was also on that movie, Nell. Help me out here. Anyway, we're going to go into this. Remember when, like, the aliens tell her to, like, make that pod so she can, like, travel to another planet? And they're like, just make a pod, and here's the thing, and here's the instructions. And they make the pod, and then all of, like, the government people are like, oh no, you can't just go and float in this pod, it's not safe. And so they're like, oh, well, you got to make a harness in the pod, and oh, you got to make a seat in the pod, and oh, you got to, like, put all this infrastructure in the pod, and oh, you got to have all of these ways to strap you in, and oh, we've got to make all these revisions because it simply couldn't be that simple, it simply couldn't be that safe. And then she goes up into space, and, like, all of the extra stuff that they put into the pod is, like, shaking off, and, like, metal is flying everywhere. And finally, all of this extra needless stuff, like pries itself loose. And then she's just, like, floating. She's just floating effortlessly and totally safe in this pod. And it's like, oh, the aliens were right. Except it's not the aliens. It's your own human body that is absolutely right about how to eat. It knows it. It knows how to regulate your hunger. It knows how to regulate your fullness. But the more that you get in the way of trying to control something that you have no control over, like your metabolism and your weight and your cravings and all of that, it just makes things complicated and worse. And that's why it feels so hard, is because we have all this extra stuff in the way. Something that we hear over and over with the hundreds of women that we have freed of their eating disorders, and where they can just have this calm and peace and forget about food and not think about it. And it's just like a simple thing, is they're like, whoa, this is way more simple than I thought. I had no idea how incredibly simple it would be when I just got all the stuff out of the way. Ask yourself, you guys, why there are people in the world that can have a bowl of cereal and, one, their bodies don't change. They don't weigh themselves and see that they're 10 pounds up after they have a bowl of cereal. 2, they have no guilt around it. They don't feel bad about what they eat. They don't remember what they eat. Think of all the husbands in the world. I mean, it's just like, this is something we hear all the time. Oh, my husband can just eat anything, and, he doesn't gain weight, and he doesn't even worry about it. It's not because he's a guy. It's because he hasn't had 15 years of restriction and overeating like you have, that has gotten this so complicated. And the third thing is that the people can eat a bowl of cereal and it doesn't turn into 10. It doesn't turn into a binge. Those people aren't better than you. They're not smarter than you. They're not more perfect than you. You don't have a defect. Nothing is wrong with you. It's just that you have gotten into patterns of making this way overcomplicated with all of the dieting and all of the restriction and all of the things that have gotten you into a mental gridlock. The people who feel that way are just the people who haven't been in this cycle of dieting and restriction and binging and wire that into their brain. and think of all the people all over the world that eat in totally different ways. Think of how carb heavy somebody in China's diet is, where they just eat a bunch of rice. Think of how meat heavy somebody in a country where there's just like mostly protein. Think of, someone else where they eat mostly a plant-based diet. And guess what? There are healthy, calm people in all of those different areas of the world where eating is different, where they can just have a baguette and some cheese and it doesn't change their body and it doesn't turn into a binge. Sometimes we look and we say, oh gosh, like how can they do that? And it's because they don't have all these layers of complication. So what has to happen to really know how to eat is to first unlearn all the things that have kept you in this complicated place. You've got to unlearn that and break the pattern so that you can actually see what's underneath. You've got to take off all the stuff on top so you can see like, oh, is that what eating is? Oh, is it really that simple? But it's not going to come from layering more stuff on that and more bad foods and more restriction and more, complicated knowledge of exactly what happens when this molecule goes into your body. It's like, you've got to take that stuff off instead of adding onto it so that you can really see the simplicity of eating. And so every time that, we restrict, it turns into more and more of an emergency because we're trying to undo all the damage of the ways we've eaten before. But just stopping right there, doing something new, doing something different, saying, has this ever worked to go and jump onto another bandwagon of the right way to eat? And being able to just let go without being terrified because you're going to start binging, but knowing how to let go in a way where you actually have structure to do something different that's going to help you to unlearn the things that have damaged you and just get you good information to get you back in touch with how your body naturally works. Hunger, fullness, having that be really clear, not thinking about food. And what has to happen is that changes at a desire level. That's why everything that we do, that we show people how to be free, sometimes after 45 years of being in this pattern, in just a handful of weeks, you can unlearn these things and you can put the things into place at the fundamental level, which is at the desire level. It's not about being a broken person with addictive cravings, even though you feel that way, right? It's not about being that and then trying to control yourself more. It's about at that fundamental level realizing, oh, wait, I'm not addicted to food. I've just gotten in a bad pattern. Oh, I'm not broken. I've just been doing the very thing that makes eating more complicated. And when we change it at a desired level, where internally you just don't want to overeat anymore, you just don't want to binge anymore, that doesn't make sense to you anymore because you've turned off all of the red glaring lights. They've taught your body how to be so panicked about food and how to have all of these cravings. So you can just get out of the pattern and it becomes very obvious how to eat. And it becomes very, very simple because it's one of the most simple things that we do as humans. And getting back in touch with that is such a beautiful thing. You've got to know how to do that and you've got to know how to do that for you. And that's exactly why we make these free sessions available for you guys, so we can really get clarity about what's happening with you. This is not a one size fits all where we're just like, oh, okay, like if we could do that, if it was one size fits all, I would just do a free video series telling everybody how to be free, and then you would have that knowledge and then you'd move on and then we wouldn't have eating disorders anymore. But here's what we know is that we base everything off of the data of what actually works to free people. And that is not a one size fits all. We have to understand exactly what's happening with you so we can see what those missing pieces are, what you need to unlearn, what you need to put in place, what that fundamental desiring or changing your desires takes for you as a specific person, because everyone comes from a different background and a different place. The same principles get you free, but they need to be applied in a different way depending on who you are. And that's why we're willing to offer this free service of our breakthrough sessions, where you can get on a call with our team and we will take hour and a half of our lives and we will help you to get that foundation of freedom. And you can go to lifewithlydia.com/apply and you can just pop in there and you can grab a session. They go very quickly, so if you see one on the calendar, snag it right away. We'll send you a couple of emails with some more, ways to prepare and what you need to do to really get the most out of your session. And you can go to lifewithlydia.com/apply and snag a session, and we'll see you there. So again, this is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, signing off. Mwah. Bye, guys.